It's time to stop living in fear. I think we all, especially right now in the current state of the world, have a bit of fear about what's going to happen, right? In the current state of the employment with AI and everything, we're afraid of what's going to happen. With the boom of social media influencers, you feel like you want to try it yourself, but you're afraid of what might happen. You're afraid of being judged. Maybe you're afraid of being laughed at, or you're afraid of what people online will think of you. You're afraid of what your friends and family will think of you because you decided to go a little less traditional of a route. But it's time to stop living in fear. I think no matter what it is that you're trying to do, whether it's get a college education, start a YouTube channel, run for state senator, run for president, you can't do it while living in fear. It's not possible to succeed while you are living in fear. I want you to do a little thought exercise and just think about how many people end up not regretting living their life in abject fear. I think you're going to see that the number of people who don't regret living their life in fear is zero, because nobody doesn't, right? Everyone who lives their life fervently hiding under rocks because they're too afraid of what might happen have some serious regrets. Now, don't get me wrong, I think there is an element to where having fear is not an irrational, well, it's not an unnatural emotion. Fear is good it's good for keeping us alive, right? But especially nowadays, its place is overblown, I think, right? Back in medieval times, before medieval times, even back in the caveman times, right? When you were afraid of the lions and the saber-toothed tigers that were hunting you, and you were afraid that you wouldn't be able to hunt the right animals down in time to feed the tribe or whatever, those are legitimate fears, right? Those fears helped keep us alive at that time. So they had a place, but even then, there's a couple of different ways you could live your life, right? You could live your life in fear of the saber-toothed tigers and spend all day hiding in a cave, in which case you starve to death pretty quickly. Or you just face your fear. You get out there and you hunt the animals that you need to hunt to feed your tribe, right? And I think if you're catching on to maybe where I'm going with this, you can see that if you are that kind of person that's maybe a little bit more fearful, something that you can do is you can actually shift that to being afraid of something constructive, right? Like, for example, with the caveman example, you can be afraid that you're not going to be able to feed your tribe. And you can use that as a way to say, hey, okay, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to feed my tribe. So I'm going to use that fear. I'm going to run from that fear towards the animals that I need to hunt, right? So you can use fear as a tool, but don't spend your life living in fear, right? When you spend all day worrying about what's going to happen, you worry about what your parents will think of you, what your significant other's parents will think of you, what your friends will think of you, what strangers on the internet will think of you. Nothing happens in the state of fear, right? Nothing good comes from sitting around worrying about, oh, what are people going to think, right? If I spent too much time worrying about what people were going to think before I posted a video, I wouldn't have posted any videos, right? And granted, again, like, are they the greatest videos of all time? No. Have they gotten a ton of views? Also no. But I'm posting them. I'm sharing a little bit of my inner mind. I'm sharing some of my thoughts with the world. Now this is going to be out here because I'm just sitting down recording it and posting it. I don't care, right? And if you keep doing that enough, eventually you're going to be able to build something, right? I'll give maybe a little bit of a better example. I just today actually hit a PR on my bench press. Not the most impressive bench in the entire world, but I hit 100 pounds today on my bench press. I officially hit triple digits today, which I'm personally very proud of. And just a few months ago, I was, coming out of like some injuries at the time, so I was kind of apprehensive about doing any bench press at all. And, if I had spent all my time being afraid of the bench press, I wouldn't have gotten to a 100-pound bench press, right? So, again, just don't live in fear. I think there is a way to use fear. Like me personally, I am afraid of having to like deal with, trying to think of how to word this, but I'm personally very afraid of having to deal with like a boss and not be able to just say, okay, you know what, I quit, right? So I'm using that as kind of a way to say, okay, I'm going to try to run away from that fear by working enough, getting enough money that I have kind of that baseline where I'm like, okay, I can just quit whenever I want, right? So it's not necessarily that fear is a bad thing. Like, fear can actually be a very good thing. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most effective motivators. But there's a difference between being afraid of something and living in fear, right? Living in fear is the state of hiding under a rock, right? Living in fear is the state of, oh, well, my parents told me I have to go to college, so I guess I'll go to college. And, oh, well, my girlfriend's parents say that I have to get a job at her dad's firm, so I guess I'll do that. Or, oh, well, I think it would be kind of cool to have a YouTube channel, but what are the people going to think of me? What if my videos aren't good? Right? That's living in fear. So don't do that, because again, literally nobody ever in the history of any human ever has not regretted living in that state, right? I don't think you're ever going to find a single example of someone who lived in fear, who had dreams and they never pursued them because they were too afraid of what might happen. And then they look back in their old age at their life and they think, I have no regrets, right? And it's never happened. They will always look back on their life and think, man, I should have just done that thing, right? Because at the end of the day, worst case scenario, what happens? You screw up, you don't get it done. Like, okay, at least you tried, right? I think that is a massive part of life, is just the effort that you put in, right? It's not always about the results. I think we're in a culture where everything is results based, right? I mean, that's partly why AI is a thing, right? Because if you valued the effort that you put in over the result, AI wouldn't exist. Because AI basically completely removes the effort entirely in favor of just having output. So if you valued the effort, you wouldn't have a machine that just creates output. You would rely purely on the hardest working people, right? And now, obviously, there's pragmatic reasons for why you can't build a society based off of just, oh, great job, you tried really hard, right? To be fair, but I think we kind of internalize that external system, and we tend to not give ourselves enough credit for the effort that we put in, right? And oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for the effort even before we put the effort in, right? Like with this, what I'm talking about here is you've quit before you've even begun because you're too afraid that the effort you're putting in isn't going to be enough. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because, I mean, the fact is, especially in this age, if you're trying to build something, like if you're trying to build a social media following, you will, given enough time. If you post enough content, eventually you will have a following, right? Like, I mean, I technically have a following now. I have 55 subscribers, which is actually like a big milestone for me. I have like a checklist here of like different milestones for me, for my channel. You know, like I have all the way from 5 to 100 videos, from 20 to 60 subscribers, 10 views to 100 views. Haven't hit really hardly any of these yet because this is for long form views, because I've gotten thousands of views on my shorts now, which is actually also a big milestone, because before I was only getting, you know, a few hundred. Now I'm getting consistently about 1,000, semi-consistently. So, and I'm not saying this to boast or anything, but I'm just sharing that as like a, you know, I mean, this is just even from what is, I mean, quite truthfully, very little consistency. Not in terms of like, I have been very consistent with posting for the past couple of weeks, right? So it doesn't even take that long. But again, if you're living in fear, if you're just scraping along in the dirt, you're never going to rise up to the heights of your true potential, right? And that's another thing that I'm afraid of, is living my entire life growing old without having reached my potential. I think the quote was attributed to Socrates about, it's a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the strength and beauty that his body's capable of. It's something like that. Some Greek philosopher said something like that. And I think I personally apply that philosophy to a lot of other things apart from just physical fitness. I think it's a shame for a person to grow old without having at least tried to achieve their full potential. And the fact is, I mean, like, let's be honest, if you're really going for it, I don't think there's a single person out there who won't achieve their full potential if they truly go for it. But that's the problem a lot of us have, is it's all that mental block. It's all in the mental of, oh man, but what if I don't? And I say, well, but what if you do? Right? Just switch it. And that's the nice thing about a mental block, is it is just a mental block. As insurmountable as a mental block can be, as soon as you switch the perspective, you just kind of shift the paradigm, all of a sudden it literally evaporates. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't want to continue talking your ear off, but yeah, just don't live in fear. It's time to stop living in fear. Just, like, is it good to know the risks? Sure. But at the end of the day, people are going to judge you no matter what you do. So you can either do nothing, in which case people will still judge you for doing nothing, or you can just do what you feel like you want to do, or you maybe, I'm not advocating for just hedonism here, but if you feel like there's something like, no, I want to build something, just go and build it. Okay? People are going to judge you for not building it. People are going to judge you for working a regular job. People are going to judge you for trying to build something. People are going to judge you for building something. People are going to judge you no matter what you do. So you might as well do the thing that you want to do. It's as simple as that. So stop living in fear and enjoy your beverage. This is just water in a mug because I didn't feel like getting a regular glass, but have some water too. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate you. As always, have a great rest of your day.